Hi, my name is Tatym Rasmussen. I'm a senior in Global Studies, and this is my presentation, Peace, Stewardship, and Luck, interviewing Lucille Guindon in Monteverde, Costa Rica. So this project stems from my time studying abroad at the Monteverde Institute, which I was initially very drawn to the Institute because of their work in conservation, sustainability, and how deeply involved they are in local community projects and organizations. So I was also really lucky to take tropical ecology classes with the cloud forest as my classroom and Spanish classes, which I brushed up on my rusty Spanish, especially practicing with my host family, who I learned a lot from. And my internship during my time there was to help create a live book of Monteverde's history. So this live book is meant to be a series of interviews posted to YouTube and going a little bit farther than traditional oral history. This is supposed to act as a living archive of personal stories, histories, and in the case of Lucky, we have videos of her speaking about her life, showing various family albums and pictures, and she can also show her pieces of artwork and explain the backstory behind them. So they're very dynamic, very fluid, and show the personal aspect of Monteverde's history. And this is also growing from a program at the Institute already that hosts community members to tell their story as well. And what's unique about this live book is not only does it preserve history for future generations, but it also makes it incredibly accessible. For example, again, in Lucky's case, she has children and grandchildren, some of whom are still in Monteverde, some of them are in San Jose, Costa Rica's capital, and some are currently studying in the United States. For them, they're able to see Lucky's story, her face, her voice, and the mementos of her life wherever they may be. So this is strengthening cultural connections between time and space. And so, getting to the heart of this project, who is Lucille Guindon? Lucky is an artist, teacher, and the matriarch of the original Quaker settlers in Monteverde. So the history of Monteverde is often attributed to this group of, originally it was 11 Quaker families who were fleeing the US war draft. So, as newlyweds, Lucky's husband, Wolf Guindon, was actually sentenced to a year in jail for avoiding the war draft or not registering. And because of their Quaker beliefs and values, they didn't believe in military action, and they strongly valued peace in their community. So essentially, the judge on their case said, if you don't like the laws of the US, you should leave. And they took that to heart. Moving to Costa Rica was no accident or surprise. So after going to visit various countries that they think they should move to, they landed in Costa Rica. And at this time, just years prior, Costa Rica had abolished its military. And in her interview, Lucky recounts that Costa Rica was really proud of the fact that they had more teachers than soldiers. So, because their Quaker values aligned really well with the direction that Costa Rica was going, and because of the fact that when they first visited, uh, the locals there were so kind and welcoming, they decided to settle in the area that is now known as Monteverde, or literally Green Mountain. And at the time, Lucky was only 18, and the area was very sparsely populated. But they loved the lush greenery. They loved how welcoming the people that were already settled in Cerro Plano and Santa Elena were, and very quickly they learned the ropes of the land, and very quickly realized that when they were visiting in the dry season, um, the weather was not always so hospitable and warm and sunny, etc. And again, the director of the program, Annabelle Torres, really wanted to interview Lucky to honor her own voice, as the story of her husband was most often told after moving to Monteverde. They quickly took up the business that was most popular in Costa Rica at the time, which was cattle ranching. And her husband, Wolf Guindon, actually started dealing chainsaws. And so eventually, over time, after becoming really integrated with the land and the people, and hearing from scientists that visited the land and explained how important the area was, they started their journey of conservation. So Wolf is known for being the founder of the Monteverde Cloud Forest Reserve, um, and together, Wolf and Lucky, along with other Quakers and Costa Ricans in the area, began a decades long project of conservation. However, while Wolf has gotten a lot of the attention, there was a book about him. He's also had various interviews highlighting his life story, how he turned to be a chainsaw dealer to a conservationist. We really wanted to spend this time talking with Lucky, understanding her perspective, how it was like to move at just the age 18 to a whole new country and moving into a rainforest at that. So it was really a privilege to talk with her, to learn the history of the Quakers and how they ended up being such impactful stewards of the land, and how Lucky herself made her life here along with all of the people that she met along the way. So going off of that, Lucky's legacy was that she first and foremost spread a love of nature, art, and education. So during her time in the forest, she helped create the Monteverde Friends School, which was the school initially created for the Quaker families in the area, but then expanded to be a bilingual education center that really focuses on stewardship, both environmentally and of the people there. So here you can see pictures from an art exhibit, an early art exhibit that was held in Monteverde, and later her artistry was developed. International artists would travel to the area to be really immersed and inspired by the nature. And very early on, they taught Lucky that anyone can be an artist and everyone is an artist. And so eventually, throughout the years of her life, she started drawing these very intricate strangler figs portraits, among with other things in the forest. And in the interview, she described her drawings and her paintings as being like her children. And the spirit of artistry has continued today. During my internship, um, I was able to visit a local artisan co-op. So they make their living by selling various pieces of artworks, and it's entirely women owned. Um, and Lucky also had a very large influence in nurturing culture and community. So, of course, when it was just the first 11 families that settled there, uh, she would also host Quaker Friends meetings to determine where their future was going, where they were heading, and also square dance events just to have fun, to meet up with your neighbors. And now, today, many Costa Rican weddings that are held near around Monteverde have square dances where one of the Quakers from the original families, or from those that settled later will be the callers for the square dance. And she was also really important in keeping hold of the history of the Quakers in Monteverde and what their early challenges were like, their early successes, etc. So my time videoing and interviewing Lucky. So while my work interviewing and speaking to Lucky is over with, Annabelle Torres and other students that are coming to the Institute can continue working on the live book, interviewing other important figures in the community. And Annabelle has also noted that it's important to explore other issues in the community through interviews, such as how tourism and gentrification is shaping the area, how home ownership is being impacted, etc. And the team at the Monteverde Institute also wishes to create a podcast to highlight local voices, stories, and conversations. So I feel very grateful to be a part of the beginning of this project and to see it continue and flourish in the future. And really quickly, I'd like to provide a special thanks to Lucky, first and foremost, for sharing your story with me. A thank you to Annabelle Torres and Irene Gonzalez for your guidance, for the creation of this project, and for Maria, who is pictured above. It is Maria, Lucky, and then me in the photo above. Maria for being my partner in videography. And thank you to my homestay family for putting on English subtitles when we were watching Transformers and for always making me feel welcome. And yeah, thank you for tuning in.